Warning, this video contains rumors, speculation, strong opinions,
All right, welcome. This is a fun stream. We got a great group. We're going to actually talk about Star Wars. Do I have all my nerds and players here? I don't know. Maybe we do now. Now we have all the nerds and players ready for the stream.
What's going on?
What's up, man?
Howdy.
Joel, you there?
Yeah.
Look at this panel.
I'm literally starstruck.
I like that background.
Yeah.
I just whipped it up. Thank you.
So
Wow.
Wow, we've been waiting to talk to you. It's great to get a great group here. Adam,
Definitely is.
Adam, you're still a Star Wars fan. You got the poster in the background.
Yeah. I was never like a big Star Wars fan. I watched them for the the popcorn flickness of them, not for so much the deep intrigue. So yeah.
Okay.
I like it from a superficial standpoint.
Max, does this guy know Terry?
I think he might.
I'm a big
Like
fan of
him.
Terry.
Yeah, a little bit. I'm not a huge Terry. I'm not a huge Terry fan.
Oh, you're not. Okay.
All right. Well, hell, Terry.
Yeah, we've been you've been the number one requested guest. I'm sorry, Star Wars only. You've been here before. The number one requested guest, Adam.
That's fun.
Yeah, everyone wants to talk to you. So great. Thanks we really appreciate it. And if you haven't already, I'm pretty sure everyone here already knows about Adam Does Movies or Adam Rants Movies. Go check him out. What do you think? This is for the viewers too. What do you think is more likely now? Rian Johnson's trilogy or the sequel?
Oh boy.
The sequel trilogy is never really gone.
Rian Johnson's trilogy, directed by Doomcock.
Oh no!
God.
Oh well. Well,
Not
what
a
do you?
fan.
Not a fan. Okay.
No.
What? Adam, I actually haven't checked out. What's your thoughts? Did you see Rise of Skywalker?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked it. I thought it was good.
Okay. Oh, okay. That's
Good
good
to hear that.
I went in with completely shot expectations after The Last Jedi. So I really, once again, was just looking for a movie that felt like Star Wars and had a good pace to it, and that it accomplished that for me. Like I'm never gonna really probably go back and rewatch the new trilogy again, but I felt like it was at least a fun send off for what it was.
All right.
That's cool.
No.
Let me see. Now Star Wars only. Do you have any info on the Mandalorian? So far, it's still on track for October. That's the one thing in 2020 we can actually count on.
Oh yeah, it's probably going to be a good month for Star Wars fans in October because October 2nd you're going to have the Star Wars Squadrons game by EA, and then the Mandalorian season 2 is supposed to start debuting on Disney Plus again. So, I mean, everything's going according to plan.
And the rumored release date for the Lego Star Wars game is in October as well. So let's not undermine that.
What Lego Star Wars game?
It's a complete saga, I think. The Skywalker saga?
The Skywalker saga, yeah. It's supposed to be actually a really big game, like something that's somewhat open world, I think.
Will the spin-offs be included in that? Like Rogue One and Solo?
Not at
They haven't
launch.
said much. I know, like, the rumor is that there's going to be like a Mandalorian part to it where you actually get to explore a little bit of that area of the Star Wars universe, but other than that, I haven't heard anything about Rogue One or Solo.
I don't think so. At least for launch, they might do DLC. We don't know.
Yeah.
The Lego Force Awakens game had DLC.
Well, that's what I was going to ask.
Like,
So this is separate than the Lego Force Awakens deal.
Correct.
Did that trilogy ever even finish?
No,
they never
stopped
made
after
The Last
that.
Jedi.
I don't think so. So it's like The Hobbit. They did the first 2 Lego Hobbit games, and they're just like, screw it.
Okay, Mladen pays attention. He's already voted. He thinks, for once, Rian Johnson's trilogy is more likely than something else. Or Solo. Maybe I should ask a question. Or Solo 2. I actually think Solo 2 might happen is more likely than Ryan Johnson.
I disagree.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
so.
yeah, no. Ryan Johnson trilogy is a sure thing compared to Solo 2. That's like,
All right. Okay.
Well, the problem with Solo 2 was that there will never be a strong female lead.
whoa, hold on now. We got Kira though. She's a very well loved character in the fandom just because of her being played by what's her name, Amelia Clarke from the Game of
Terminator.
Thrones. I mean, she's a great actress. Oh yeah, Terminator, that too. I mean, I haven't seen that one, thank God. But I mean,
Brutal.
she's got a lot of
Heavy hitter.
on her. Yeah, I would imagine. I paid my dues to the first 2 Terminators, and I'm done after that. I don't need to invest any more time.
I haven't seen any of the Terminators.
Good for you.
Wow.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow, cool, man.
You'd be surprised by the amount of movies I haven't seen.
We need to do a new series of
Oh,
catching up on some classics. I mean, now's the time. Now's the time.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah, there's nothing else to do.
Have you guys? That's a good segue. Have you found anything to do besides doing YouTube? Like, have you enjoyed any content lately? Is there anything that you're into right now?
Well, I found things to do, but I can't talk about it.
Okay.
Oh no.
Not on this stream.
Okay. We'll save that for your channel.
Yeah.
I was going to say, unlike Terry, I'm playing through The Last of Us 2, and I'm enjoying it quite a bit. So
Nice.
Cancel Adam.
I mean, I should take that back. I did not like the first 5 hours of the game. I thought it was just miserably paced, and I wasn't feeling the story. But now I'm probably 11 or 12 hours in, and it's completely 180 for me. So
That's
it's getting better.
Can I get an F Naughty Dog? F Naughty? No,
No, not for me. No. I enjoy Naughty Dog. I like the games.
No. That's two. I don't want even if you really dislike one game, I can't say F them. There's so many employees there that put their heart and soul. They thought they're doing the right thing. Don't cancel Naughty Dog.
No, they made some of the best games in the last couple generations. I mean, the Uncharted trilogy, even the spin-off Uncharted game was fantastic. So Crash Bandicoot and all of that. No.
All right, so Goldman actually watched something. He watched Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition. There's actually something to watch on HBO Max. So I Star Wars only. I don't even know what you think or care about the DC movie universe. So I'm interested.
I'm gonna be honest. I tried watching the extended version of Batman vs Superman because I saw it in theaters when it came out. And I mean, I'm not gonna beat around the bush. It's bad. It was just bad. And I don't know what it is about Zack Snyder fans that think he's some godlike director. He's okay. He's not. He's overrated. He's not that great. I'm excited for the Snyder cut just to see what he can do with it. But I mean, other than that, it's okay. I mean, it's just okay.
You're gonna make Ryan cry.
Oh, man, that's okay.
No. I mean, that's his opinion.
There's some DC movies I like. I just think that the universe has really tried too hard to do what Marvel did, and
very rushed.
Very, very rushed. And I don't know what it is.
That wasn't Zack Snyder though. That was WB. They were they want to hurry up and make that Avenger money, so they forced a lot of crap into his movies.
Yeah, I'm sure, and I heard everything that went on behind the scenes with the Zack Snyder cut and everything. So I support him coming out with that and seeing his vision fully fledged out. But even with the Suicide Squad movie, the guy from that was I want my cut. I'm like, no, I don't. I've seen your film.
David Ayer.
And he's gonna get it too. That's coming out next year as well.
That's
really
confirmed.
Oh, no, Adam. Oh, no.
To be fair, though, I think this is important for indie movies for directors to fully show the creative control that they would want. And I applaud HBO Max for investing. I would never have watched the Zack Snyder cut unless it would be on HBO Max. This is something I would never go to theaters for, and it's one of the reasons I signed up for HBO Max. Also, it has South Park on it with no ads, which is amazing. So I love HBO Max.
Are they going to be able to keep all the episodes now that we're in today's day? They have some controversial episodes.
They have to, and they have to. If you got to stick by your guns on that one. If they remove one episode, I'll delete my description.
Really?
The Chef was in the first few seasons of that, and the Chef has some really controversial scenes.
Salty balls.
It probably wouldn't match up too well today, but hopefully it stays. Yeah,
they'll just have to do a disclaimer like Gone with the Wind.
Yeah.
So was the extended edition better or worse than the theatrical edition of Zack Snyder's BBS?
Better.
I thought it was better.
I was curious. I haven't seen it.
There's more exposition. It does give you a little bit more behind like Lex's motives and just a little bit more backstory and showing you like Clark goes off and goes to Gotham, investigates the Batman and whatever. So there's a little bit more of that in it. And so that's what they trimmed off. WB cut it down. I think that they took out like 30 minutes or whatever because they wanted, just more butts and seats,
Sure.
and just gave you just a version of the movie that just wasn't that great. And the Ultimate Edition is better. There are still things that I have problems with the movie. Like turning at one character into another that I didn't agree with, but. I was like, okay, this is the direction they're going because again, it wasn't Zack Snyder doing that. It was Warner Brothers and yeah. So I mean, when AT&T came in and bought Warner Brothers, that changed the landscape over there at that studio. So they're same thing with the Air Cut. They changed that. When they put it in theaters, they hired the company that was doing the commercials, and the commercials were sort of like going kind of the beat of the Queen, that soundtrack. What was it Bohemian Rhapsody? I don't remember. I don't recall.
That was one of them. Yeah, that was one of them.
And so they hired that studio to cut the whole movie because they're like, oh man, the fans love this. They put it out there. It wasn't that good, and they took out a lot of the things that David Ayer was doing, which was a whole bunch of Leto's Joker. Which there are things in Leto's Joker that I still have an issue with, but I mean, they're not that big of a deal. I'd still like to see his version come back and see a longer interaction between himself and Margot Robbie, who plays Harley Quinn. And so it's going to be a different. It's just going to be a different feel for that movie as well. They're doing post-production work as well, along with Zack Snyder's Justice League. They're just doing it right afterwards. So because they're cutting costs because they're using the same studio for VFX.
Sorry to disappoint you, Cowboy TD. I'm not hating on Brie Larson. That's the best thing that happened in 2020. Her going to YouTube. Hey, I'm simping for her. I subbed right away. I promoted her channel. Hell yeah. Wow. Listen, is she as cringy as the people on YouTube? I don't think so. No. Yes, she said some stuff but she was young. Right. Hey, we could get Enosh on here.
Oh yeah, I had a pretty good discussion with him the other night concerning the sequel trilogy.
Okay, let's test out this new StreamYard. Is that all right, everyone? We'll get as many people in here.
Sounds good. Only if he's above average.
Well, he's not part of Geeks Plus Lamers, so I think we're okay.
Okay. Before we move on real quick, I do want to know, what did you have to say about Batman vs Superman? Did you actually like the movie?
All right. So I have a decent amount to say. First, I want to give. I don't know how long you want me to talk about this. I'll give some brief.
See how it goes. Yeah.
Brief backstory. So, I saw Batman v Superman in theaters, and I honestly don't remember like my thoughts about it. I just remember some of the overall like big things that happened, like the whole Martha scene, how Superman died. So I remember that, but I don't really remember how I felt about the movie. And then I remember seeing Justice League, and I had no knowledge of the behind-the-scenes stuff with Zack Snyder. I usually just go see these superhero movies because I'm interested, and I really hated Justice League. I don't know, just
me too.
I don't need to explain why I hated it. Everyone hates it. It was just terrible. And then the whole Snyder Cut stuff started happening, and then once they announced it was a thing that they were actually going to release on HBO Max, I was quite excited. Even though I'm not a big DC fan, I do understand wanting to have the original vision. And kind of have like your own trilogy, like there's the Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and the proper Justice League trilogy. So I can understand that. Then after that, I watched Man of Steel, and I liked it for the most part. There were a few problems I had, but overall I liked it. And I wanted to watch Batman v Superman, but you couldn't rent it. At least the Ultimate Edition, you couldn't rent it. You had to buy it. So I waited for HBO Max to have it, and it did. And I watched it. Was it last night or 2 nights ago? I don't remember. It was 2 nights ago because last night was the 4th. And
Jolly.
I was really looking forward to it. And when I watched it last night, it was one of the most confusing movies I've seen in a while. I was wildly confused for the most part. I've at least 4 or 5 times I had to pause it and just look something up to try and get some clarification. And other times I just was confused. Just there's many things, like maybe you guys can help me understand it. But I wouldn't say I disliked the movie. There was just a lot of parts that were confusing, and then when I got the answers through looking it up, I was like, okay, I guess that makes sense. I know you're not supposed to do that, but it made me enjoy it a little more, I guess. But there was just so many things that were confusing to me, and I don't know. I can talk about those. I made a little list. I don't know, just like
made a list.
There you go.
I did make a list. No, I came prepared. I want to make sure I know what I'm talking about.
All right.
I would say one thing that was wildly confusing to me was the beginning. Like after the flashback scene for Man of Steel with Bruce Wayne, I really liked that scene. But once they went to the whole Africa scene, I was really confused as to why everyone was blaming Superman for that incident. Like, didn't he just show up at the end and save Lois? So like a big portion of the movie, they were just like the Senate and the whole country was kind of angry and blamed him for that. And I didn't understand why.
I think it was like a media thing.
And why from watching the Ultimate Edition?
Yeah, the Ultimate Edition I thought expanded on it a little bit because
it did.
Maybe I just missed it, but
it was actually mercenaries that were hired by Lex to make it look like Superman just came and desecrated everyone. They shot all the civilians. When the only thing he did was save Lois from the one guy. But that was it. So the whole thing was just a front.
Yeah, I got that part where Lex kind of set it up, but so the whole world kind of saw it as Superman just killing all these people.
Well, that was the narrative. He was trying to create a narrative. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that lady who came out and said something like, "How does he choose who lives and who dies and whatnot?" And they basically just said he came in and then everybody was dead. So I guess it was just. I see where the confusion could arise from.
And then later they I think she came to Lois or someone else and just kind of said, I have a confession. I have to, say that, it's kind of put up to this or whatever. And so, just to sort of give us a little bit of backstory, like, okay, yeah, she was, acting and she was acting for the camera, which, a lot of people do in fake news.
Okay.
And here's Lex was nipping the media. Fake news.
Okay. I guess this ties into another one of my problems with the movie was I'm really confused as to how the world sees Superman because they made this whole monument for him, right? They built his own statue, which makes it seem like, he's a hero. But throughout the movie, everyone's questioning him and his decisions, which I like, but it just kind of contradicts it in a sense. Like, why build a statue for someone who's such a controversial figure?
It's a polarized. He's a polarizing figure.
Yeah,
much like a lot of. So there are people who like him, and see when he was at the Day of Muertos, when he was down there and they were all treating him as a god, and there was these people that were on the building. They painted his S shield on the roof, trying to call him over or whatever, and he was doing these different things to sort of that little montage of him helping everyone out. But then you've got other people who are like Bruce. He was like, this guy's an alien. We can't trust him. How can we trust him? So it was trying to show you two sides of the same coin.
No, I get that. It just, and then maybe, again, this probably isn't fair, but I do remember from Justice League how they would always talk about how Superman was this beacon of hope. Again, that's more of a problem with Justice
League was not Zack Snyder's.
I know that. Now, I guess that in the back of my mind.
So that narrative, that shift, that was people wanting to, because they were like, well, we need to get to that hopeful Superman really quick.
Yeah.
And and so that's why it kind of shifted and just went that direction. So
yeah, that's not a Batman v Superman thought, but that's just another thought I had in the back of my mind.
I think you bring up a very valid point though that a lot of people had issue with, which is that you had Man of Steel where he wasn't Superman, he was Kal-El. That's why there's people pissed about him snapping Zod's neck, which I defended. I enjoy Man of Steel quite a bit. I'm like, he's not Superman yet. He's growing into the character.
Yeah.
And then we immediately brush past the good Superman that everybody loves, like the beacon of hope and truth and honesty. And suddenly now the audience is turned against him, and he's this dark, shadowy figure. So Snyder, not even Snyder, because I do agree, Snyder is a phenomenal visual director. I think he's one of the best in Hollywood.
I think he's on par with Lucas.
I think he's you know, you look back on Dawn of the Dead, the remake, Sucker Punch, gorgeous film. It's terrible, but it's gorgeous. I mean,
I agree.
The guy
I didn't like Sucker.
but
I fell asleep.
I think 300 is still like top 100 movies of all time, just because of how different it is, and he nailed it. But I think David S. Goyer wrote BVS with probably a couple other people, but
He got his
Stereo did, I know
they
that.
completely miss the iconic Superman, and we have to rush into this Batman versus Superman thing, and it just loses everybody because Batman is like, we need to take down this dude. It's like, Superman's supposedly been around for a few years now. Batman should know who this guy is a little bit. Right. He's the world's greatest detective. And I don't know. It's just completely over people's heads, not because it's some deep, profound film, but because it's so stupid, like on its face. It's like, this makes no sense.
Well, with Snyder, it was he wanted to make a Man of Steel sequel, just a follow up to the other film. Warner Brothers executives were like, "Hey, you know, just from seeing I Am Legend, you saw that Batman, Batman Superman." Yes. So they wanted to jump ahead and get to that, and so they were like, you know, well, we got to add Batman into it. So it changed from Man of Steel 2 to a Batman vs Superman film, and they pit them together really quick, and as far as like the hopeful Superman. See, this universe here is in Earth 1 in DC, you know, comics or continuity or in the multiverse that they have. Like Christopher Reeve is in Earth 0 Superman. He's the Golden Age, you know, the boys.
Where's Nicolas Cage's?
Yeah, but you've lost like 95% of the audience doesn't know what the hell.
Oh no!
So it's gone. It's already over. Well, this is actually 0-1 Superman.
Okay, no, you're right.
I don't know what that is.
You're right. Okay, look at Tim Burton's Batman and look at Christian Bale's Batman. Two of the same character, but just they're completely different. One's in a fictional universe, the other one is supposed to be grounded in reality. And that's kind of what you would say with with Henry Cavill and not Brandon Routh, Christopher Reeve just said it. But you know, one is grounded in reality, and then the other one is more of a dystopian, like, you know, he's in our you know, current society, which sucks. So that's
what's up with the
differences.
What's up with the Doomsday character? Because I really enjoyed that character growing up. That was a big deal.
That was going to be
so then
to be my next point.
Doomsday was again the same damn thing. Warner Brothers stepped in and said we want to see Doomsday. Snyder had a shot in Man of Steel where the moon was cracked on Krypton, and that was created by Doomsday. But that can't be because later they take his character Zod and they turn him into Doomsday, which are two distinctly different characters. Yeah. So that one I had an issue with. Yeah. I would have been happier if they'd made Zod a Bizarro, because that would have made a little bit more sense. Yes. Because it still would have been created by Lex Luthor, which Bizarro is, and it still would have been Kryptonian, but just he'd be a little off because he was dead. So that would have made a little bit more narrative sense to me. But executives at Warner Brothers wanted to see Doomsday, which is kind of like why you saw in Wild Wild West with Will Smith and Kevin Kline. You saw that big stupid spider that at the end that was supposed to be in a damn Superman movie written by Kevin Smith, because a producer wanted to see, I forget who.
John Peters. John
Peters wanted to see that big spider fight Superman, but that script didn't go. They didn't greenlight it, didn't go through production, all that, right? So then he was like, I still want that idea. So he moved that idea over to Wild Wild West. So there's always these idiots out there that want to have their whatever it is put into a movie, and it usurps any sort of creative direction from the team that's actually coming up with the films.
I mean, that's why fair. It's just not.
It's always like, we're directed, a director-driven studio. Well, they're not, because they meddle in everything.
Absolutely.
They screw up everybody's shit because they want to have their say in the board meetings and see their shit on the screen. And 9 times out of 10, it's always wrong. They just don't have a good beat on what the audience wants.
Yeah, I just laughed when I heard there was the extended edition, and I'm thinking, like, I don't want more of this movie. I want less. Is there like a Topher? Is there a Topher Grace cut that removes the last third act of the film, and then I'm in? Like Wonder Woman being in it made no sense, and Doomsday made no sense. Like, get rid of all that trash, and then we're okay. Then we have a movie.
Those were actually like the two last problems I was going to address.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't really understand why Wonder Woman was in the movie. Like, I got the thing how she wanted to get rid of that image that Luthor had, but given just the technology of the age, like, you probably saved an image over a bunch of different places. So how would she get rid of a single image?
Yeah. So with Wonder Woman, again, the same thing. They wanted to build the Justice League, right? Because they needed the Avengers movie. Right. I think she should have been in, but just as Diana. Just doing, just running around. We know who she is, but the characters don't know who she is. But that will be revealed later on.
It was a very unearned celebratory shot of the three of them. That only, once again, that 5% or 10% of that fandom know. Like, why does she have her own theme song playing and stuff? Just she needed a movie first.
Out of all the DC movies that have come out, her theme song is like the most recognizable. So
to me, it's the Batman one. Like, dun, 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 dun. I love that.
So Enosh is on. Unfortunately,
So Hans Zimmer.
Okay. So here's the thing. So the thing about Batman v Superman is Batman v Superman is one of those movies that it makes you have to think. It is not a popcorn movie. It is not one of those. It's not a popcorn movie that you can just go into and think, well, I'm just going to sit here and eat my popcorn and drink my pop, and I don't have to think about this movie. Batman v Superman is something that there are so many layers to Batman v Superman that you know what, the diehard fans are going to go in and they're going to love every minute of it, which I loved every minute of it because I'm a diehard fan. But the thing is we see the things that some people may feel that weren't earned, and I agree that there's a lot of stuff stuffed into Batman v Superman. There's a lot of different storylines taken from a lot of different comics. And just kind of thrust into it. Like, I was very disappointed when I saw that Doomsday was actually in the movie because I didn't feel that we had earned Doomsday at that point. Doomsday should not show up in the second movie that's Superman. And that's what we'll see. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. The one thing that I was happy about is if you have to bring Doomsday in, you better kill Superman because Doomsday is not somebody you just throw in there and then go, well, Superman beat him now, but Superman can't beat him later.
Right.
I was killed himself though, kind of. I mean,
like Luke Skywalker.
Sacrifice. Could have thrown the spear. No.
Couldn't he have handed it to like Wonder Woman?
No, he would. Doomsday would have caught it and like flipped around and thrown it back.
Wonder Woman was laughing the whole time she fought him. She was having a good day of it.
Yeah.
Because she had
Wonder Woman also. Wonder Woman too, though,
had a fight in a while, so she was kind of like kind of getting back into it. So
what's that, Joey?
Well, my grandmother's name is Martha. True story.
Martha.
That was very common.
Why'd you say that name?
Kind of like Jennifer.
How do you know that name?
Back then.
Why'd you say that name? I like that scene. Everyone hates that Martha.
We'll say okay, Max. Let me tell you. Okay, so that scene wouldn't work if one of the other didn't know that his mother's name was Martha. Like let's say that Clark's mother's name was Cindy. Well, that scene wouldn't work. Save Cindy. Who the fuck is Cindy? Dead. Who cares? Because it wouldn't. But they're like, oh,
it made him suddenly more human. He said, "You're more human than me" in the movie.
He did. But I mean, it was
again. How does Batman not know anything about him? Like, that's why.
Lex figured out everything.
If they had shown some exposition of Clark like finding out that who Batman was and then who's Batman, who his parents were, the name, like, oh wow, that's my mom's name or whatever, and then that makes a little bit more sense for him trying to trigger Bruce into kind of snapping out of his
rage.
I have a question.
That would have been more smart, but they didn't do that.
We'll get back to Star Wars 2 in a second. Star Wars only. So
bring up the DC.
Star Wars only.
I thought Superman did know that Batman was Bruce because he calls him Bruce during the
Yes,
fight.
he does. He does.
So
If he does, then
But it-
for me or for anybody else, I guess there should have been a little bit more exposition as far as like showing that he actually found out that his, what his parents' names were.
yeah, I agree that there should be
It
more.
just needs to make more sense.
So Superman knew the whole time? Or, like, is that like, because I never got that
you know,
from
at some
the
point.
Well, I just
Well,
thought he was saying save Martha, talking about his mom, his specific mom, and Batman was like, "Oh, well, that's also my mother's name," and that's why it kicked him. I didn't think that Superman said it because he knew who Batman's mother was.
Right, but if you were on the ground, right, and they were about to kill you, and you knew that your mom was like, being held hostage somewhere, you wouldn't say like, save Nancy, and then you were like, what, save Nancy, like, no, I'd say, dude, save my mom, or
I
save,
agree.
I would.
Right.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be the same thing over and over. Be like, why are you a broken record? It would be, save my mom. Her name is Nancy, and she's here or whatever. It was Lois came out of nowhere. That's his mom.
Yeah, you actually should know my mom's name, Batman, because you studied me, of course, and you know everything about me. Except for
Right.
he didn't.
All right, so I kind of have a way to steer us more towards together on this subject because we got lovers of Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition and people that are not totally on board. What would you do? Would you continue with the Justice League storyline, or would you go back? I mean,
Who want
depending.
to continue with Justice League?
Right. Okay. So this is the best option, I think. Right? Can we agree on that?
Yeah.
I think that the way they're doing or the way they're handling with how they're giving Zach carte blanche and not putting any restrictions on his narrative or storytelling is a better way to go, because it's going to be a narrative from 1 to 2 sources, himself and Chris Terrio, and that's it. It's not going to be a whole bunch of executives saying, "Hey, put a spider at the end," or whatever.
I want to hear
question about. Wait, Max, I have a question about the canon of the DCEU. Like, have they addressed like what's going to be part of the official storyline? Zach's or Joss Whedon's?
It's gonna be. Well, I don't think they could somehow. I don't know how they would do it. It'd be the wackiest thing to do is have them both sort of be canon with the Flashpoint, but I don't think they would do that. I think
Max,
so, like,
you're actually right.
Yeah, they could.
I don't know if they're going to address Johnson.
I don't think they would, but
they're going to address a lot of things in the Flash movie.
Yeah,
they're going to have.
They did that with X-Men movie. There's an X-Men movie where they brought the old characters back and
Days of Future Past.
Yeah,
that was the best,
One of the best ones.
So Flash.
Well, it's
what the
possible.
hell? Oh, sorry.
He was doing like a 1980s.
Yeah, you look like Max Headroom.
Max Headroom.
I was like, wow, we got Max Headroom. But I do want to hear the people that aren't necessarily on board for Batman v Superman, like Adam, Goldman, and Star Wars Only. What you would want?
I mean, is this
okay? Sure, go ahead, Charlie.
So the most money made was Joker, right? Out of all the DC movies.
I think so.
Right?
Most profit for sure.
Aquaman made $1 billion, but yeah, definitely.
But Joker had the biggest margin.
Yeah. It did have the bigger margin because it was only $90 million to make.
Yeah, okay. I think they need to go down that lane. I think they need to stay down that lane and surprise us more often with stuff like that.
Isn't that what Matt Reeves is doing?
I hope so.
Matt Reeves is doing his own thing.
Yeah, it's like
I don't know if it's a single movie or a trilogy, or if they're just kind of holding out to see if people bite into it and like, I like this or don't.
Mm-hmm. Well, Adam, what would you not that you're a hater of anything, but what would you be more want to see though? The after the Justice League, or are you interested in Snyder Cut now and where they're going to go? To go back, revisit that sequel.
I remember seeing BBS in theaters and leaving with just like this. Well, I think like a lot of moviegoers, was like, what did I just watch? I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it either. And like if I had to watch BBS or the Joss Whedon Justice League, I would pick Joss Whedon's Justice League any day of the week. Because it's like It's like an hour and 45 minutes long.
Okay,
It's
okay.
like a stupid Sunday. It's like a Sunday afternoon cartoon show.
He's
you know?
looking at it as an investment.
Yeah, well, yeah,
How
exactly.
much time do I waste?
Exactly.
That's a smart way to approach it. Yeah.
No, that said, like I do like Zack Snyder and I respect his work. I do think that his scripts need a lot of help, and I know he's not writing them, so I don't know what the hell his cut of this movie. I don't know what his cut is. If it's his written work or if it's Goyer again. I don't know who's the one that put pen to paper.
Stereo.
Okay, but yeah,
so we're in
obviously-
good hands. Rise of Skywalker. We're in good hands.
Well, once again, like that's like the Justice League for me. I saw it. I enjoyed myself. I put I had nothing at stake in that film because there was nothing brought to the table. I don't know. I am interested to see what the Zack Snyder version of Justice League is, purely from like a morbid curiosity standpoint. I don't particularly think it's going to. I don't think it's going to be like good. I think it'll be interesting though, and I am excited for people that genuinely like BVS. Like I'm happy that they get to see this movie finally.
Yeah.
For me, it's just more curiosity. So yeah, let's just go with this crazy new direction. Let the fans kind of speak with their money. It's very rare where the fans actually do push things a certain direction.
Right.
So, I mean, I guess it's kind of a cool experiment they're trying out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that'll be interesting.
Would it have happened if he would have been? Hey, I'm a renewed fan of Rian Johnson. I watched Knives Out. Who's clapping? Goldman.
Of course.
No, and I
Knives Out is good.
like after the Rise of Skywalker, I like The Last Jedi more, and I'm glad he killed off Luke in that movie because Rise of Skywalker was horrible for me. I'm sorry. So
You're right. Star Wars ended at episode 6. I completely agree.
Hey, ask Star Wars only where it ended for him.
Yeah, 1983. That's the last good Star Wars movie that was ever made.
And Max,
I kind of agree with you.
Yeah.
Unless I'm tripping, is Adam's screen frozen?
It is.
No,
Yeah,
he's in deep thought.
I'm all over the place.
Oh, we can still hear you. That's
Batman v Superman had its toll on him.
I have so much
He's a catatonic shock.
Yeah.
The catatonic shock now.
Well, if you want, Adam, you could go out and come back in. Oh, now you moved.
Let me try.
Oh, you moved. You moved. Wait, you're good. You're moved. You moved.
He's not. I mean, he's got a frame rate like.
I have a
frames per second.
black screen with a spinny ball.
Okay.
It was like resting bitch face for a minute.
Oh.
No, that's just my
You could go to.
face.
That's a good segue to if you haven't subscribed to Brie Larson, I will link her channel.
Oh my
No, you
God.
don't. No, you don't.
I'm not subscribed.
No, I was just
did.
trying. I was trying to do the
No,
best
I did.
segue possible. Yeah, I subbed her.
I'm not a
right
simp for Brie.
Can we talk about Star Wars now?
Oh well, now that you mention it, I do have a Brie Larson Star Wars article.
Oh,
No.
no.
I'm moving at, like,
No,
frame-
I won't bring it up.
There's this Mike Zero guy who keeps talking about how she wants to ruin it. I mean, I don't know.
Mike Zero.
Yeah,
Oh,
y'all
no,
didn't
we
hear that
lost
she can
Adam.
write
We
and
lost
direct
Adam.
her own Star Wars movie. That's not what people are confused. When Brie Larson said she auditioned for a Star Wars movie, they were like, "Oh, she went for a part, like a role, like Ray." No. She actually auditioned to be Lucasfilm president. You know, she's like, she went to Bob Iger. Yeah.
Oh no, we lost. I hope Adam comes back. I hope he comes back.
You brought up Mike Zero, so he left.
I don't know that. Yeah. But yeah, that's what I was going to just say. She did audition. That's all I was going to say. I don't. What did she actually audition for?
Probably Ray or Jen.
Probably
Her,
Ray or Jen, yeah.
YouTube channel.
Ray or Rose. Imagine if she was Rose instead of Kelly Marie Tran.
Good for
Man. The narrative thickens.
Oh yeah. Well, here's the reason I can accept. I could totally accept a different vision of a character, just not when it's the main one. Like with Luke, this was the main version of Luke. This is like the canon version in the saga. And although I'm not completely bought the Luke either that we got in Last Jedi. It was just a better scene that we had with Luke here than I think was ever possible in the Rise of Skywalker. I don't know. JJ really disappointed me. Force Awakens was great. It was fun. It had places to go. But the Rise of Skywalker, whew,
Yeah.
just all over. I mean,
I think it's pretty boring.
No, I don't like any of it. I'm sorry. I mean, they were just so lazy with what they did and that's what started with JJ started with the troopers that looked almost identical to the damn Imperial troopers that we had from the last trilogy. Like what? They should look completely different.
Well,
The TIE fighters should look completely different. There shouldn't even be TIE fighters. There should be a different class. You're like what 30 years after,
kind of like in Knights
still
of the
using
Old
the same
Republic.
kind of technology. Like they should like from the prequels to the originals. There's and I was telling Enosh about this the other day. It was like you can see a silhouette of any of the damn ships from the prequels and say, that's a prequel ship, or you can look at a silhouette from the original and say, that's an original ship. And then you look at the ones that they used in the sequel trilogy: Millennium Falcon, X-wings, TIE fighters. It's the same damn shit. I don't.
But wait a second. The Millennium Falcon had a different radar dish. Come on now.
Yeah, I know, right? It had 2 different radar dishes in the sequel trilogy.
I mean, did we not see the same movie? What is wrong here? I don't understand what world we live in where you can sit there and actually say that with a straight face. Come on. It's a square radar dish. I've been there. I've been down to
they got HBO Max with the new dish. So they're cheating.
All right.
Competition.
I gotta say something here. Okay, so I'm not gonna put any blame on JJ for that last movie because he got handed a hot shit sandwich. The Last Jedi pretty much ended the trilogy on its own. I mean, they kill off Snooky Boy. They kill off Luke Skywalker. They pretty much kill off Leia because she died anyway. So, I mean, the whole thing had just ended right there, and he had to pick up the pieces. So, I mean, he did the best he could.
I gotta say, I agree with the former instead of the latter. I think JJ kind of, after taking over The Last Jedi, I really don't think he has any right to complain with what was set up because he did kind of write Rian Johnson in a corner with everything.
Yeah.
I mean, the first line to The Force Awakens is the most disappointing thing in Star Wars. Luke Skywalker has vanished. That is the one guy that literally everyone and their mother was looking for. And the explanation behind it was his student turned on him and destroyed the Jedi Order and he went into exile. It's like, okay, that's interesting, but it's also a little lazy.
Well, he's in exile. It's like, I'm going to exile, but here's my address.
Yeah. There's that aspect of it. It's you're looking for Luke, and so when you end with The Force Awakens, the biggest hype for The Force Awakens afterwards, which I know a lot of people harp on the movie now, and I liked it, but I didn't love it. But The Force Awakens did its job on making me look forward to the next movie, and what I was mainly looking forward to was what we were going to do with Luke. So going from Luke in the Return of the Jedi, seeing Luke on The Force Awakens, he hasn't even said a word. I'm so excited to see what he does, and then to get Luke in The Last Jedi. It sucks, but then you ask Rian Johnson, why did you write Luke that way? He'll say what he already said, which is, I didn't really know how to explain Luke being trapped on Octu for all those years and not doing anything. Mm-hmm. So I didn't like The Last Jedi. I truly hate what they did with the character of Luke, but I think it's because Rian Johnson bought into what JJ was doing, and JJ set himself up for failure in that sense. And same thing with Snoke, of bring into this character who's the dark side. We don't know anything about him. You're not going to tell us who he is. You're not going to tell us who Rey is. And then we get Rian Johnson, who says they're both nobodies. And then JJ comes back and is like, oh, no, they're both Palpatine. So I think it's all JJ's fault.
I got a crazy idea. I got a crazy idea. How about you write all 3 stories before you start filming?
Yeah.
I can agree on that.
But they had deadlines.
Well,
they had a general plan, right?
They had a loose.
I mean,
hold on.
Release dates.
Doesn't look like it.
Now, Goldman, we do have another
after 8.
Goldman, we do have another pro sequel trilogy guy here. Is Enosh? He likes the sequel trilogy. So
I do. And actually, The Last Jedi is actually one of my favorite Star Wars movies, just because it did stuff that it did things that that I was not expecting. I went into that movie, wanting to see Luke Skywalker, Jedi Master, doing all kinds of crazy stuff, and being this Jedi Master that I had always envisioned as a kid, because Luke Skywalker was my hero, and Luke Skywalker was that character for me. But what I loved about it was it had me glued to my seat because I didn't know what was going to happen next.
Yeah.
And for the first time, because all throughout the prequels, that was my complaint, was it was great seeing the adventures of Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi, but I never felt like there was any kind of consequence. They were never going to die. There was never anything really bad going to happen to them until the end of episode 3 when Anakin, ended up in the Vader suit. So there was no consequence, and I never got connected enough to I never got connected enough to Padme. They're like, when Padme died, and they're like, well, she died of a broken heart. I don't care. Like, who cares? Okay, she could be alive. She could be alive, but she's stupid and doesn't want to take care of her kids. That's a deadbeat mom. I don't care about that. Okay, so that pissed me off.
It's hot.
But here's the thing: when The Last Jedi comes out, and all of a sudden it's like, hey, Luke did the exact same thing that his masters did when they failed. Yeah. When they failed, they ran off and they secluded themselves, and they were scared to do anything because they felt so responsible that they felt if they did anything, it was still going to mess stuff up. And it was totally within the character of Luke, because you look at him on Dagobah. The whole time he's wanting to run off and save his friends, right? Oh, but they're in a city in the clouds, and they're going to die. Are they going to die? And Yoda's like, look, we don't know if they're going to die. He's like, well, should I just sacrifice them then for whatever? And he says, what? If you value what they fight for. And so the thing is Luke's whole thing, his entire life at that point, had been always fighting for the galaxy, fighting for everybody, doing all these things. And he had this moment of weakness where he made a mistake, and it had these horrible repercussions on the rest of the galaxy and what was going on. And he felt so responsible for it. And so finally he was taking a moment to go, hold on a second. I can't just go and take my light sword and just make everything all right.
Right.
I'm going to screw things up again. I'm going to screw things up. And he did exactly what Yoda and Obi-Wan did. He's like, I'm going to go into seclusion because I think that that's the best thing to do. The Force will bring balance. Something else will happen. I don't have to be everything. Yeah. And so he does exactly. Yeah. And the thing is Luke, even in Return of the Jedi, I love Luke. Like I said, Luke is my hero, but Luke is not perfect. And I think we put Luke on this pedestal that we're like, well, Luke will always make the right decision. But then we forget that Luke basically succumbed to the dark side in Return of the Jedi. He went over that. Vader got to him. Vader taunted him with his sister, and he wanted to protect his sister so much, just like Anakin wanted to save Padme, that Anakin went to the dark side, that Luke was right there and went, no, you're not going to have my sister. And so he comes out and screaming and wielding his saber, and it takes that moment of cutting off Vader's arm and then looking at it and going, oh my God, this is who I'm becoming, before he throws the lightsaber away. So Luke always had that rashness, that where he would just run off and do these crazy things that nobody expected. And look, do I like the fact that he threw the lightsaber? No. But the thing is when I watched The Last Jedi, I go, you know what? Yeah, when I was 22, 23, 25 years old, I had a very different view on the world. And yes, I felt like I could see the good in everything. And I'm only 43 now. But you look at this Luke who's older. He's seen stuff. He's been through stuff. How many times has he saved the galaxy? How many times has he fought darkness? And sometimes, man, you when you get older, you look at things differently. And we have to see that like Luke is not perfect. Yeah. So he's gonna make mistakes. And that's why I loved it, because it just totally I hate the term because people just make fun of it now, upending our disbelief or whatever, like our expectations. Subverting. I hate that term, but it's true because it really did flip the script for me. And the only thing that I agree with on this is that at the end of The Last Jedi, it felt like the end.
Jelly, you all right?
It just felt like the end. It felt like the end. That was
so the Mandalorian. Thanks, Enosh.
I mean that's just what I got from the movie. That's why I like it.
I would agree with everything that you said.
Right?
Until season 2 comes out.
I think that The Last Jedi might be the only sequel trilogy movie that I actually like.
Ooh, damn. All right.
So I guess I'm the
Drop
only one
mic.
that probably thinks that they relied too heavily on the old cast. I think they shouldn't have used them as much.
Well, this conversation
Oh, yeah,
is
100%.
pointless because it's being
Because
erased.
it really
So
gave you
might as well
no-
move on.
you know,
It's not being
it-
erased. There's
you
no
know that
there's
it's
no freaking way.
characters
Yep.
or, you know, the new
It's
characters.
it's being
Common
erased.
fucking sense.
Makes no sense whatsoever. Makes no sense
Oh, we
whatsoever.
can all agree on that.
Okay, okay. Let me
Billions
break it-
billions
All
of
right,
dollars. in
Let
this.
Jolly speak. Let Jolly speak. This. All right.
Let me break it down. Okay, I'm a 42-year-old puppet, and so I grew up with Star Wars, and there's a nostalgia with Luke Skywalker. See, he's a hero, and he does his full turn and becomes a Jedi Master, as Yoda foretold him. Once he faced Darth Vader that last time, a Jedi Master will he be. So he came full circle. There's nothing else to learn at that point. He needs to transfer his knowledge on. Now, that said,
Well, he says he's going to be a
How
Jedi, not
many-
a Jedi Master.
hang on. How many people out there, how many fans just wanted to see Luke Skywalker kick a little ass?
Yep.
Well,
You
you
know,
do at the end of The Last Jedi.
But
No,
why
no,
does
no,
that
no.
why does that have
He's
to be
a
that?
Jedi
He-
Master.
Yeah, see,
At
the end of Last Jedi.
looking at this
Okay,
through,
okay,
so
you tell me though. The end of The Last Jedi, when he literally goes out there, he literally transfers his essence across
Wrong.
the freaking
Wrong.
galaxy.
Wrong.
Across the
That's-
freaking galaxy.
I'm sorry, but I thought that was
Seppuku,
cowardly.
it's seppuku by the
Really?
Force, and it was cheap.
Yeah,
It was cheap.
I would have preferred.
How was
I would have preferred that he actually,
You should have been there in
climb
person.
down, get that X-wing out of the water that we saw,
Arr.
and
But
fly
it
that little
subverted
thing
your
over to the
expectations.
over to Crane
Everyone.
and take
Dun,
care of
dun,
business.
dun, 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 dun. I'm going to save the day because that's
No.
what I do. He says
No.
at the beginning, I
The
can't just
puppets
go out
got
there
the
with a light
stage.
sword.
The puppets got the stage. Finish your
Okay.
thoughts, Jolly.
So I got a son. I have a son that's 10 years old that I got to watch him experience the original trilogy and the prequels. He likes the prequels. He experienced the whole thing, and I got to watch it through his eyes. And when we got to go watch The Last Jedi, that kid was so excited to see his hero, Luke Skywalker. And when I walked out of that movie, my kid was mortified. I had to take him to therapy.
Well, I got
His
three.
hero-
Well, I have three kids who were old enough to who love Star Wars. Who I did the exact same thing with, and when they came out of the Last Jedi, they were in tune with it and said this was amazing. This was a thrill from the
Are they
beginning to
Luke
the end.
Skywalker fans?
All right, then
Yes,
I gotta say I got three kids
absolutely.
and they
Absolutely.
didn't like it very
Absolutely,
Oh my
much.
that's
God.
what I'm saying.
I'm a
It's
kid and I like
subjective.
it.
I am the kid, and I hated it.
It's subjective. It's subjective.
Yeah.
But
Sure,
see,
oh
that's-
yeah,
but
definitely.
But that's the thing. That's the thing is Luke
We'll never
Skywalker
agree on
can
this.
be your hero. Luke Skywalker can be your hero, but you can see different aspects. See, to me, a hero doesn't mean that they're perfect and they always make the right choices. That's why I like
Yeah.
BVS. That's why
Nobody
I like
wanted
Man
to
of
see that.
Steel.
Nobody wanted
But
to see that.
He
there's people
saves
who
the
do
resistance.
want it. I'm
Luke
telling you,
Skywalker.
I'm telling you, I
Yeah.
wanted to
we
see that.
remember from Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, I love your house, Max.
But come on, I mean, he saves the resistance. He inspires a movement.
done.
What
He
more
literally-
do you
talking about the
need?
rebellion.
He literally does what Obi-Wan
It's the
does.
same damn thing.
He literally
you
does
think,
what
Star Wars,
Obi-Wan
Ollie?
does. He literally does what Obi-Wan does in A New Hope.
No, he doesn't.
He inspires the
I
next
lost
generation.
control.
He
I
literally
lost
helps
control.
them get on the Falcon at the end. Even he literally helped them get on the
I would
Falcon.
disagree that he does what Obi-Wan
Obi-Wan
does.
is a story.
He kinda-
Obi-Wan is a storyteller. Sorry, go ahead, Star Wars.
For me, it's not even like I know a lot of people have had criticized Luke in the past, and then the people who are who like what he did in The Last Jedi. It's a fair criticism to say that people who critique Luke just want to see him come out there and destroy the First Order by himself and everything. I didn't want to see that. I didn't care to see that. I didn't. No offense to anyone. Mark Hamill's in his 60s and 70s. I don't want to see that old timer swinging around the lightsaber like he did in The Last Jedi. It was really awkward. He looked like a Marty McFly on cocaine in The Last Jedi when he came out. I didn't like that aspect of it. My big problem with Luke is I felt like he was out of character. Like you were saying earlier, he would do anything to sacrifice himself for his friends and go save them in The Empire Strikes Back. He would abandon the Jedi Order for training. For me, it just seems a little weird that he would devote himself to the Jedi Order so much and devote himself to turning his father against the darkness and then doing the same thing with his nephew. It just felt like he continued the same arc that we've already seen before. And where I didn't.
It was
That's
a
because
lot
the movies
insane.
rhyme. That's because George Lucas said the
my
movies
God.
rhyme and that
We're-
they have this continuing
okay.
series that they keep
Okay,
on.
I'm shutting it down. I'm shutting it down. Let's talk about something we can agree on.
I didn't say anything.
To be honest,
Man, we didn't even.
can I
Well, we
be honest?
agree that
No,
this
can I-
trilogy is over.
Yeah,
Yes, yes. Well, we agree that it's not going to get. It's not
Can I
going to
have
get.
a
It's not going to
revealing
get
moment?
erased. It's here forever. We have to move on. Thank
It'll
God.
never get erased.
And that's
Can I have
That's
a
it.
revealing moment here? Like, I really don't care anymore. Like, that's honestly, like, I had this conversations for so many years. I mean, it's still heated. It's still heated.
Yeah.
Like, people still have their
I don't
opinions.
say
I just,
No,
I just,
I'm-
I just,
you
no,
can
I
hear
no,
it.
no, no. I want to say I
I'm not
respect
hating.
everybody. I want to,
No,
I
no,
want to say that I respect everybody's opinion because I
Except
think,
Doomcock.
I think,
Yeah.
no, except Doomcock
And Mike Zero.
and Mike Zero. But I feel that
It's the
you
same
all
person.
look. It's just
Could be.
like
And
Jeremy.
Jeremy.
Just like when Zever came on my show, the other night and gave his reasons for why he did not like The Last Jedi, and I let him spell it out. An ambassador came on, and they both, hit me up one right after the other, and they said that. And that's the thing is, I may give it back to you, okay? I may give you a hard time, but I totally respect everybody's opinion on that movie because it's totally subjective, and we can go back and forth on it. But at the end of the day, we still love it, and that's what I try to tell people is, and that's why this whole thing of canceling the whole sequel trilogy and stuff. I guarantee you, 10 years from now, there's going to be a generation of kids who grew up with these movies.
I agree with that.
Who are going to defend it, just like people are defending the prequels, because people forget that the prequels, people were like trashing them and wanted George Lucas's head. And so the thing is,
Mr. Predictor Star Wars only said, I'm waiting for the video that says the sequel trilogy is secretly brilliant.
No, yeah, that'll happen.
I'm working on it.
I mean, yeah, there you go. So
Goldman might make
Brilliant. Brilliant as far as like luminous.
There will be a like
luminous beings, are we?
Goldman, you actually should make that video because someone's bound to do it.
There will
Please
be
do.
My whole channel is devoted to why the sequel trilogy is secretly brilliant.
Okay.
Well, I don't
you have
think
to
it's secretly brilliant, but I like it.
Okay.
There will be an out of context, like behind the scenes clip that all these fanboys will leech on, like they did with Jar Jar Binks being the key to everything. It'll be like Maz, Maz Kanata. It'll be like it was a secret Sith Lord the whole time.
That's a story for a different time.
So
I want to give a quick thought on this since I'm a total idiot. My computer was at 1% battery. I thought it was plugged in and it wasn't. So that's why I was dropping out earlier. But I just can't stand when movies progress characters off of camera. And I wouldn't even care if Mark Hamill, if Luke Skywalker went the route he did in The Last Jedi, if I kind of got like glimpses of it unfolding throughout the previous film, or
that's fair,
just any hint of it. It's the same reason why I was a little hard on the Avengers Endgame, what they did with Hulk, how he's just I fixed my problem off camera. This was a huge thing to reveal on the audience. And I mean, my racist grandma's still racist. Like, I'm not going to change her 50 years later. So like Hamill, like Luke Skywalker changing.
Grandma needs to get woke.
Yeah, because she needs to subscribe
every morning
on YouTube. She needs to follow Brie Larson.
Okay.
But
she follows Terry actually.
Yeah, I just couldn't get by the Luke Skywalker thing.
Adam, I love that. That's my main thing. Like, I can accept this, Luke. I need to get the story has to take me there. Like, I think Ryan thought of the amazing ending, and I do think the projection would have worked. It worked for me, but I still need the Luke in the tent with Kylo, even all the multiple versions of what's real, what's in Luke's mind, what's in Ben Solo's mind. It still didn't work to me either way. That didn't. Okay.
Have you guys ever watched? If you have the Blu-ray to The Last Jedi, there's a second disc where it has this like full-length documentary. I had never watched it, but it's called The Jedi and the Director.
And that pissed me
something
off.
like that.
It's on Disney Plus.
No, so here's something though that really kind of showed me where Rian Johnson was coming from, because every time I ever hear J.J. Abrams talk about like how he wrote the movies that he wrote, it's always like, well, I thought that this character would be doing this, and my opinion is that this character would be here and going here and doing this stuff. If you listen to that whole documentary with Rian Johnson, he is like so into where Star Wars could go, but he doesn't ever say, I thought this or I thought that. He's always talking about how in Empire Strikes Back, Luke does this and he says this, and that's why he says this in The Last Jedi, or Yoda says this or makes this statement or whatever, and that's why he says this in The Last Jedi.
I mean, and I was saying this to Enosh the other night.
And I actually bought that, Zever. What you're about to say, yeah.
Yeah, no, because I mean, what they did with Han Solo was they regressed him back to Star Wars: A New Hope. What they did with Luke and Yoda was they regressed them back to Empire Strikes Back, and the whole thing like, oh yes, young one, blah, blah, blah. You know, when Yoda's acting like a fool, that's when Luke didn't know who he was and he was putting up a front, right? So then after he said, I cannot train him. After that point on through Return of the Jedi, Yoda is a serious character. Yoda is a master. He's not an idiot, you know, which is kind of what they had back at the tree with Luke and Yoda in The Last Jedi. That's why I was like, wait a minute, this isn't them. It was a regression of the characters to a state which wasn't the correct state that it should have been. So. Yeah, that's why
if you watch the prequels, Yoda never acts like a screwball in those.
Thank you.
I don't even like the prequels.
The Clone Wars.
That was only for Luke, because Luke didn't know what he was looking for or who he was looking for. He just had a name. Yep. So that's why Rian Johnson should have done more homework. And like I was telling Enosh, they have a damn story group. It should never have been written and directed by Rian Johnson.
He did work with
written and directed by J.J. Abrams. It should have been directed by Rian Johnson, directed by J.J. Abrams. We probably would have gotten better films because
I'm
they're
pretty
good
sure
directors.
I'm pretty sure that JJ is the one who never once worked with the story group, though.
No, he
He worked with Lawrence Kasdan.
He's close.
So they have no damn excuse.
Okay.
I mean, I will say this: Rian Johnson's Last Jedi is, I think, hands down the prettiest and the best sounding Star Wars movie, like full stop.
Canto Bite?
It had some of the best.
I like the visual. Okay, no, I'm sorry. ILM made the sequel trilogy look beautiful.
Yeah.
But you can only pack it. I mean, you can take sanitizer and wipe it on shit. It's still going to be shit. It's just going to be clean.
Right. Yeah.
We're not all haters. We're not. But it is kind of funny that the BBS and The Last Jedi are in similar,
right? Where they're flying around and you've got the red dust, right? It looked beautiful,
right?
But the ships had no artillery on it. They were flying around. They weren't going to stop the walkers. The walkers are going to advance.
Yeah,
they're going to keep advancing. They're not going to. So they're just flying around like idiots.
Yeah, at least in Empire they had like a strategy. They're like, let's take the cable and go around.
Their strategy was to delay the walkers.
They were soldiers.
Max has left.
So
Max has left the discussion.
Can I say something? In The Last Jedi, the point of the spears was to just try to delay the walkers for reinforcements that eventually never came.
Right.
But okay, about the story group thing, isn't there like a comic book backstory for Poe that's just ignored in The Rise of Skywalker?
Oh my God.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, there's a lot of Rise of Skywalker inconsistencies with the canon, but I don't blame that entirely on the story group. I blame that on the rush production that was going into this, and the fact that JJ and Chris Terrio themselves probably didn't sit down with every member of the story group. Chris Terrio and Pablo Hidalgo were in conversations a lot, and this stuff you can't make a Star Wars film without working with the story group. Like, I know that for a guaranteed thing. Like, there's no way you could get away with that, and that's one of the reasons why Rian Johnson got his trilogy, is because he worked so well with the story group, and out of all the production for the Star Wars films, despite every single one having pretty much major production problems, Rian's was the least major, because all he did was delay the film from May to December, and that's because he wanted to rewrite the script for the new characters. The original script he had was more focused on the original trilogy characters than the new cast. So that was all it was. And Lucasfilm, the story group, was so happy with what they'd done with Rian, they were like, yeah, let's just give this guy 3 whole other films. So
because Finn has no character in the Last
Jedi. No, haven't you seen The Force Awakens? He's
miserable. He could have had like easily the most interesting character going in.
Yeah, mainly with him. I think Finn and Kylo Ren were probably the biggest missed opportunities for this new trilogy in general. I mean, I think Kylo Ren really.
And Kylo Ren was the most interesting of the characters,
right?
And mainly only after The Last Jedi. Well, I know in The Force Awakens, a lot of people did not like Kylo Ren. It wasn't until what Rian Johnson did with him that people actually kind of started to care about them. So
Right.
Wow, this
I
is
will give
still
props to
this
that.
is still a heated topic. I love Star Wars, but I really don't care anymore. That's why I'm like, what about the Mandalorian? Everyone likes the Mandalorian.
Wars, man. Yoda's going to turn out
Well,
to be a
I think Mando's fine.
Hey,
I
Hold
love
on.
it.
One last thing. Star Wars
Okay.
only. Have you looked into Duel of the Fates at all? I'm kind of curious what your
Of course
thoughts
I
are on
have.
that.
I've read the script. I've covered it a time or two. I don't think Colin Trevorrow is the greatest writer, but I think the film he was going for was the most Star Warsy kind of Star Wars film that we would have gotten.
Okay.
The only thing I liked from that was how Luke was going to torment Kylo. That's it.
Yes,
That's the only thing I liked.
that should have definitely been.
Yeah.
a
That
thing.
should have been in any version because of based on what he said.
Yes. Yes.
We
I
missed
saw
that.
some of those clickbait thumbnails of like Colin's version would have been a masterpiece and whatnot. Thinking in the back of my head, didn't this asshole do the last Jurassic World movie, which was just god awful bad?
Not he didn't do the last one. He actually handed it off. So he was going to do the Star Wars. He was going to do Episode 9, and then he got fired.
Yeah.
So he already. So yeah, it's not completely his fault. The
No,
last
don't
Jurassic
forget,
World.
Colin Trevorrow also said he wanted to actually go out into space to film Star Wars Episode 9. So this man was quite.
like-
Elon Musk.
And that's
Okay.
I'm not exaggerating. That's not a hyperbole. That man wanted to go to space.
I just watched that movie last night, Apollo 13. I just rewatched that. It's still really good.
Yeah.
Well, I got a question for the panel here.
Okay.
So does anybody here actually believe the Emperor was supposed to be incorporated into
No. Nobody.
Oh no.
Yes.
Ian McDermott
Nobody.
is a fine actor. I love him. He was better in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
I
Right.
don't even know what the Emperor was in the last movie. What was he? Was he a clone?
He was a puppet. He was a marionette.
Some kind of
Snoke.
body
It was Snoke.
I don't think the writers know what he was in the last.
Was that you, Griffin, or Goldman, that sent me the trailer of the Rey versus Palpatine re-edit with?
Oh, the
all-
re-edit. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
that's
that was so much better.
That should.
agree.
I said that the day that I saw the movie. I mean, look, I
Yeah.
came out of the movie. I came out of the movie really ticked off the first time, and it took me going back and seeing it again to fill in some things for myself. But you know, the thing is about the Palpatine thing. Like, it's everybody's like freaking out about it and going, "Oh, there's no way he's a clone. There's no way he's a clone." It says it in the movie.
Yeah.
It literally says this is this is my problem with movies today. Okay. And people who go people who go to movies is I have to answer so many things for people because they just don't watch the freaking movie.
Okay.
They don't listen to dialogue. They don't listen to, and then they come out and blame it on the movie. And the thing is they come in the first 5 minutes. He tells Kylo that he was dead. He tells him right up that he was dead, that he died. And those are all things that that people are griping about the fact that, you know, they don't ever take from the source material or from any of Legends. That was a whole storyline that was in the comic book Dark Empire. And it's obviously right there. And it's done very well, actually. And even halfway through the movie, they go, well, is it really Palpatine? Do we really believe that? And what's his name, who was on Lost and stuff? I can never remember his name, but the little guy.
Abrams?
No, the J.J. Abrams' little friend who was in Lost.
The guy from Lord of the Rings.
Monaghan.
Yeah. But he comes right out and says, because they say, do we really believe that Palpatine's back? And he says, yeah. And somebody says, well, how? And he says, through cloning and through Sith alchemy or whatever.
Yeah.
And so do they go into the whole backstory? No, but you don't have time to go into the whole backstory of all that stuff.
Yeah. Right.
So the thing is it's right there, but then you got people like Geeks and Gamers, Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers going, there's no way in hell that I believe that this was a clone. Well, then you didn't watch the movie because it's in the movie. It's not just in the book. They expound on it in the book, but it was right there if you just watch it and pay attention. I really feel that people are too busy like getting in their seat, looking at everybody else, checking their phone, eating popcorn and stuff because they don't listen to dialogue that's right there for them if they actually paid attention. Because I came out of that movie going, well, I was ticked off at a lot of stuff. Okay, I didn't need to see Chewie get the medal at the end just to make me feel better about it. Okay, I didn't need to see, you know, them call Rey Red 5. I didn't need all that, you know, just nostalgia because I love nostalgia. Yeah. Look, I'm in a room full of toys of nostalgic stuff, but I don't need to get beat over the head with it over and over again. And the thing is, but all that stuff. But I definitely did not come out of that movie going, well, there's no way he's a clone because I saw the seeds of it and I saw what was there, and also I've read other materials. I am immersed in this lore, and so I have read Dark Empire and Dark Empire 1 when it came out because I was into it back then, and so those are things, and I mean, and I as a fan, I can critically look at it and go, you know what? And I told Zever this the other day. I am so ticked off that Mara Jade is not in this at all. Yeah. If anything, I'm ticked off at that. So I'm not just like blindly following the movies either, right? There are things that I'm really ticked off about, but a lot of the gripes
if you could only have one, would you rather rewatch the sequel trilogy or the new Cassian Andor series?
Oh, the sequel trilogy. Sequel trilogy.
I'd watch that just to see if there's something new or different.
Sequel trilogy for sure.
So as a
choose a sequel trilogy over the Mandalorian.
As someone who's only watched Star Wars movies and never read the books, like I think the issue with Palpatine, and yes, you're right, they say it straight up, he's a clone. That's fine, whatever. But if you take like 2 seconds to like break that down, what that means, it gets really lost on people. Right. So we saw him fall down the energy shaft thing, and he's electrocuted and presumably shot out into space. How do you go from that to 30 years later? We see Snoke in like a petri dish in the corner, and Palpatine's like ragdolled on this machine. Like, what did
Jiminy Cricket?
I just don't get what they cloned to make this like weird amalgamation of.
It should have been okay. It shouldn't have been
like a young, spry looking Palpatine.
It should have been.
Why did they clone like nasty 85-year-old Palpatine?
Yeah, I mean,
his body was decaying.
Ian McDiarmid,
exactly. His body.
So how did they get his body? Is the question.
It's a cloned body. It's his DNA. It's his DNA. That's why it's a clone.
So they took the DNA from him. Like
Palpatine. Well, look, if you want to go into the backstory, Palpatine had many clones set up for himself so that he could continue to live indefinitely because the dark side was too much for his body. He literally embodied so much of the dark side that it decayed his body so much that he had clones set up that he could transfer his essence into.
Yeah, they call
his
it
death.
But they never should have hired Andy Serkis.
This is the
movie. They should have just had Ian McDiarmid, doing his guttural, talk through this body, but they didn't because they didn't have that foresight. They didn't know that they were going to go that route. Yeah. And what they could have done is just had Ian in as a different person because Luke didn't know what the hell he looked like, and Leia didn't. I mean, they can look at archives from back in the day, but we would have known as the audience, we would have been like, oh, that's not Snoke. I know who that is. That's Ian McDiarmid. His Palpatine now. And yes, then you can say, okay, he's going into different clones of himself. He's still using his same DNA. Why is he switching to the Snoke body or the Baby Yoda from the Mandalorian or whatever it is? Why isn't it just Ian McDiarmid's DNA that is just being redone? Kind of like in Dark Empire, he has tubes everywhere of his same body, and that would have been a little bit easier for people to understand. Like multiple bodies of the same figure, kind of like what they did with Superman, cloning Superboy. They had a whole it wasn't different people.
Now, did you take away from that he had put his essence into Snoke? Because that's not what I got from that at all. I got that Snoke was a completely different entity, and in the novelization of the movie, they explained that Snoke was a completely different person that he cloned, but he was controlling using the Force. And Palpatine's whole thing has always been about controlling the midichlorians, about controlling life and death, and all those things.
Man, you should have Enosh on your channel. I was gonna say because he's loving the sequel trilogy too.
No, I love what he has to say, but I think the more interesting conversations are the ones with people you disagree with. No offense to you.
Then I'll come on your channel all the time.
I got a question. When I watched The Rise of Skywalker, I guess there was a deleted scene. I was vacationing in China when I watched it. And I heard there was a really hot scene between two girls that were making out. And I really wish they would have included that when I was in China. Was it good? Was it a good scene? Was it hot?
So quick. It was so quick.
So quick.
I was really hoping for some good, girl on girl action. Star Wars style.
Here's a quick question.
It's not for you.
I have a
Oh.
quick question. I have a quick question for those. And for anybody, but especially those who did enjoy the Last Jedi and the sequel trilogy, since they did go the Dark Empire route with the Emperor, right? As much as people complain about Luke and like where his story went, and they complained that he wasn't the hero that they wanted him to be, what do you think the backlash would have been if they had gone full Dark Empire and Luke had actually succumbed to the dark side and became his apprentice?
That would have been interesting. But I mean, he was too old, because that was when he's.
No, I know,
Yeah,
I
Luke
know.
was in his 30s or something.
But what I'm saying, here's what I'm saying though is back when that came out, we all just read it and went, oh, this is the next part of the story. This is interesting. We didn't all sit around yelling about it and telling everybody how they were all wrong about it because this would never happen. We've just become at a point, I think, where we have such ownership of these characters now. We feel we have such ownership of these characters that we put that onto them and we say, well, now this could never happen. Right. We don't just look at stories anymore and go, this is the story I'm being told. How am I going to process what I'm being told? We hit back and we say, no, that's not the way that I like it. That's not the way that I see it. That's not my Star Wars, right? And we're seeing the same thing. We're seeing the same thing with the DC universe. I got a guy who comes on my channel all the time, and like that's his thing. It's like I've tried to be nice to him, and I am nice to him, but like his whole thing is like he cannot stand the fact that they may go forward with the DCEU, and I just keep telling him, look, man.
You got Jody on your show?
No, he's just this guy, but it's the same idea. It's the same idea, and I just tell him, here's the deal. You see those characters in one way. I mean, you think Luke Skywalker's divisive. Try being a Superman fan, because everybody's got a different take on who Superman should be. So the thing is like at some point you just have to go, it's not there's not one right way that these characters are going to just be portrayed. You just have to take what we've been given and decide how you're going to process.
Well, I'm more forgiving of the different takes on superheroes if we've seen so many versions. Batman and Superman, we have so many versions of them. Like like, I want something different and fresh, and it's not the main canon. That's why I actually have a follow-up question, because we'll be talking about the sequel trilogy all night if we keep going. Are these the most divisive films of all time for fans? Batman v Superman and The Last Jedi. Are those the two highs?
Divisive.
I don't know.
I wouldn't say Batman v Superman was that divisive. And when it came out, most people disliked it, but not many people are talking about it anymore.
I know some corners of YouTube that would disagree with you.
Yeah, a corner, but like The Last Jedi has been fought over by everyone on the internet.
Well, I think the Batman and Superman and all that is less because, like you said, Max, they're going to have different incarnations. We're not going to have 30 different Luke Skywalker, reimaginings or retellings. We have the one, which is, again, why I think they should not have relied so much on the original cast. Yes, they're old and all that, and everybody wants to see them on the screen again, but it should have been a trilogy focused on a new core set of characters that really had a compelling story to tell. They didn't. They were retelling 4, 5, and 6 with different characters and relying heavily on Carrie, Harrison, and Mark. And
what we needed was a pass the torch. We needed a pass the torch episode, like the first Force Awakens. Yeah, pass the torch. Where of course, Skywalker has his Obi-Wan moment where he trains and passes it along and enlightens more people of the Force, and then we get into our new characters from there, and we see our heroes die off in a good way that it fits the story and helps encourage the other actors to go on. I mean, how are you going to have Han Solo die and not have Luke Skywalker show up after that with the Force, telling him, my best friend just died? Then no, the little lightsaber wiggles and it flies to Rey, and immediately we're into the Rey story and she's our new hero. We didn't have time to adjust to Rey taking that pinnacle spot in the trilogy yet. It was too soon. Right. And even Mark Hamill said it. Mark Hamill said it. That lightsaber should have went to him.
They should have focused solely on the new characters and like you said, get to know these new characters. and establish the new characters in their world and whatever their world entails, and then kind of pepper the original trilogy characters in to assist the main cast of this new trilogy.
I'm sure that was the original plan too. I mean, I think a large part of this was the reason they focused so heavily on the new trilogy, or the new trilogy focused so heavily on the original cast, is that when Disney bought them, they were like, all right, what do people love about Star Wars? Let's look at the prequels where there's a lot of backlash to these new characters. No one really liked them. Let's look at the originals. What's selling today? Like if I go to Walmart or Target right now, how likely am I going to see a 9-year-old Anakin Skywalker compared to a Han Solo, a Luke Skywalker, a Leia from the original trilogy? I mean, I
agree. I mean, look at the new game that they're coming out with, the Rogue Squadron or whatever.
It's a Star Wars Squadrons, EA.
Yeah, Squadrons based on the
Rogue Squadron
trilogy.
Yeah.
That's where the money is.
Well, it's set after the original trilogy, but yeah, they're still going for that era. And Disney's the new Star Wars universe. A lot of the shows and movies and a lot of the things we've been exploring has been set between episodes 3 and 4 and during that original trilogy. And that's because that's what people identify as quintessential Star Wars. That normally is Star Wars. I mean, if you don't like the original trilogy and you're a Star Wars fan, it's like, whew, man, you can say what you want about the other films, but the ones where you're like, man, that's Star Wars. Or like everyone can agree that is Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you guys think that there was a brief outline?
There was an outline for the sequels?
Yeah, like a brief outline, maybe.
Oh, of course. JJ himself wrote drafts for 7, 8, and 9, and Rian Johnson and JJ actually did work a little bit with each other for episodes 7 and 8 in terms of what they were going to do with each of them. But the big thing that I think was really the downfall of all this was Colin Trevorrow, just bringing him in so late into the process and not allow. I mean, he worked with Rian Johnson, but he really didn't work with JJ, and he really didn't get that much time to work with the story group as I think he should have. I mean, he was going to rewrite the script, but they didn't like his version of the script with Derek Connolly. Then they brought in another writer, I can't remember his name, but they didn't like his version either, and they just didn't give him the proper time to rework that. And in my opinion, they should have brought him in early 2014 when they brought in JJ, and then brought Rian Johnson in as well, and have all three of them.
Well, I think that other guy is the other guy named Steve Arndt.
Michael Arndt.
Michael Arndt. Yeah. Okay, he's the one that wrote Toy Story.
Yeah, he wrote one of the Toy Story.
Yeah, so his script relied more heavily on the original trilogy characters. And they were like, no, we don't want that. They should have. What they should have done is just continue that. Like, okay, less and less and less.
Well, Michael was having a problem. He was saying, because what his script was originally based on, and this is like early stuff, is his script was kind of an adaptation of the George Lucas sequel trilogy. But Michael was saying he had a huge problem with the character of Luke Skywalker in the sequel trilogy, because he says, like, when Luke shows up, you don't care about anyone else. Like, he takes over everything, the whole story. And he's like, this trilogy's not about Luke. It's about these new characters. And I don't know how to write the character of Luke anymore. And so that's why they brought in Lawrence Kasdan did not want to write The Force Awakens. I mean, he was like, yeah, I'll write Solo, but it's just Star Wars.
If I get to kill him.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to do in 83.
He's like, can we finally kill him off? Is George still around? If he's not, I'll kill him off this time. And so Lawrence Kasdan's
like, I'll do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I like Indiana Jones better anyway.
Yeah. Harrison's like, how much will pay me? Yeah, I'll do anything. Just keep the Ewoks out of it. But I think that if Lucasfilm really had geared down all of the directors that they wanted to ahead of time, it would have gone well. But I blame a lot of it on Disney for going in the second they buy the sequel trilogy or the rights to Star Wars. They say, all right, in 3 years we're getting a new film. 2 years after that we're getting another one. 2 years after that we're getting another one. And in between those 2 years, by the way, we're putting another one. So Kathy, you got 5 films, 6 years. Good luck, sweetheart. God bless you.
Exactly.
It's a
exactly. That sums it up.
I wanted to add on to your point there, Star Wars, only with the toy sales. I've been actually going around kind of checking things out when I get a chance. The COVID, I haven't been able to as much, but they just pushed out the 40th anniversary Empire Strikes Back toys, and they had these 6-inch figures that they made that were beautifully done, gorgeous figures. And everywhere I go, they were sold off the shelves, gone.
Yeah, because
gone,
the Ewoks exist.
But I still can find, I can still find Rogue One characters, and I can find Force Awakens characters, and plenty of Snokes and Rose Ticos. But those Empire Strikes Back figures flying off the shelf. So it just goes to show that the original characters still have the nuance that gets people to come back and buy their merchandise.
Oh yeah,
Am I
'cause
wrong?
the originals changed.
Well,
the,
hold on. As a toy guy,
here we go.
let's talk about that though, because it's like anything. If you flood the market with too many, Hasbro is to blame for that, because they flooded the market with all these little extra action figures, and there's this problem within the toy industry where hey, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. But there's this problem within the toy industry.
Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't even know.
Man.
There's a problem.
All right. I'll give him some.
Okay. So,
My God.
You're gonna take over another damn stream.
This is a great tour.
okay. So there's a problem within the toy. There's a problem within the toy industry where I bought them all. No, there's a problem. There's a current problem with supply and demand. Hasbro has not put out. Hasbro has flooded the market with the figures that not everybody wants. There's too many Rose Ticos. There's too many Snokes. There's too many characters that we don't care about, and they only pack a couple of the ones that people really want in a package. And so when that happens, those ones sell out and the other ones stay on. The same thing happened in the 80s though, and we forget this. The same thing happened in the 80s when the original figures were sitting on shelves for years because there was a bunch of Weequays and there was a bunch of, prune faces and stuff like that like nobody cared about those characters because everybody wants Luke Skywalker, right? Like I want my Luke Skywalker. Yeah, we want your main characters. Once you have those main characters, it's the same thing. It's in every toy thing. I mean, just like in wrestling, every kid for a while. My kids were into wrestling forever, and every kid gets a John Cena. Yet every time you go to the store, there's nothing but John Cenas because you know what? They flood the market with John Cena because John Cena is this popular character. But then when Walmart goes through and they do their check, all they see is, hey, we've got 10 figures here. They don't look and say, well, we've got 9 John Cenas. So they don't reorder. And so it just sits there because nobody reorders because all of the characters are still there that, a couple people wanted, but the average kid doesn't go, ooh, I want that Rose Tico. And I understand that. But it's also the same reason that Hasbro puts out, a Constable Zuvio action figure. And if you know that, like Constable Zuvio is not in the movie. Like he's seriously, but they put out a 6-inch figure and a regular figure for him, and he's not even in the film, And so that's the kind of mistakes that Hasbro is making. That doesn't have anything to do with the movie or the popularity of characters. It's just bad business on the toy sellers.
Okay.
I would say yes for part of that. I could agree with part of that, but it still has the nuance of the original characters when 40 years later, you're still seeing them fly off the shelves.
Well, I on a previous stream said the most disappointing thing is being a collector from all the sagas, and then 9 they didn't even do anything. Really.
Well, yeah, we got no 3 3/4 inch line for episode 9.
So
how do you do that? You have a series of movies that the entire toy line was based. I mean, that's what started it all, man. Was when they finally released the toys. I mean, they gave everybody that little coupon, and stuff, and said, hey, you can get these toys later, right? And the thing is, I was born in '76, but man, I remember all this stuff. Like I remember having
getting
those
the
toys.
Emperor in the mail.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the thing is that, how do you have a toy line that I get it if you want to get away from that, but hey, get past episode 9. Get past episode 9. They released.
Well, they didn't even have
these stupid 5.
They didn't have any of that yet.
Yeah, that was a story decision.
They released these figures. They sit there and change. They changed the entire thing to this little 5-inch line that sucks. This 5-inch line sucks. The only reason I bought this is because it's this is the only one that I have, and the only reason I have is because it was $2.50 at Walmart, and it's Luke freaking Skywalker in the Jedi thing. So that's why I bought it. But the thing is that they wanted like $10 for these, and they tried to change the whole thing for the last movie. No, that's what the last Jedi or the Rise of Skywalker figures were in. This is stupid. This is bad business. This is bad business.
Oh boy.
So I'm ticked off that they did that. That they chose the last movie. So I've got an episode 1. I've got shelves for each. I've got shelves for each.
Made your whole
episode.
collection irrelevant now because you can't complete it ever.
I got shelves for each one, for each movie and all the standalone movies. But yet I I've got this little section because they've kept the vintage collection where it's like they're going to charge $13 for a regular size little action figure because now they have articulation. Before they used to get articulation, and now they're all 5 points of articulation, so they just do what the original figures did, and so they're charging extra for them. But they only released like 3 figures from the new movie. You get a Rey, you get a no, Rose Tico you didn't get, but you got the Sith Trooper, and you got a Sith Jet Trooper, and like that was it. Like there's I'm sorry. You did get what's her name? Carrie Russell's figure. You got one of her.
Mara.
Yeah, we didn't get anything in 1/6 scale either, aside from Kylo Ren and Rey.
What's that?
We didn't really get anything in 1/6 scale either. We got Rey and Kylo Ren, and I'm pretty sure that's it from Hot Toys.
Well, I hate to do
for Hot Toys. Yeah.
This is
we got
great,
a lot of Black Series toys. The 6-inch toys.
This is a great panel. So I either have to end it in 10, 15 minutes, or I have to leave.
Dude,
and you guys can finish the show.
What was the topic today again?
I don't remember.
Star Wars.
The original trilogy.
The topic was what's more likely, Solo 2, Rian Johnson trilogy, or the eraser of the sequel trilogy.
Rian Johnson trilogy.
Solo 2. But not as Solo 2. If you're giving me those 3, I could see it coming back in some kind of capacity, but not branded, not branded as Solo 2, but a continuation of the story from Solo.
Right. They wanted to do that Crimson Dawn. I think it'll be called Crimson Dawn.
Yes, well, and I feel that is going to happen at some point because those are the things that people loved about that movie, and so you may even have Han Solo show up at some point as a cameo or in there or whatever, but you not actually a Solo.
Don't bet on it, kid.
Well, and I've seen Ray Park at conventions recently, and he's still got it. He could still swing around.
Dude, I would love to see a Crimson Dawn related.
Well, I know they're looking at Ray Park. Lucasfilm is to return in a live action role of some sort.
He deserves it.
He does.
Absolutely.
Part of it is because he's become such a big part of the Star Wars fandom as of late, and not only that is because they've introduced him. So I don't think that story is going to be over, but I don't think Alden Ehrenreich is going to come back as Solo. And there was just so much that went on for that film.
Well, let's do a deep fake.
Yeah, deep fake.
I remember hearing something about a Lando show with Donald Glover.
Or he's having sex with all the robots.
I don't see that.
So I will say this: as much as I love The Last Jedi, I don't want the Rian Johnson trilogy just for this reason. Not because I'm not interested in what Rian Johnson would do with it, but because honestly, at this point, no one's going to go see it.
Oh, I'll be there day one. I'm saying just to piss Max off. I want it to happen, and just to say I told you so to everybody.
But do you understand? Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying, though? I mean, if they announce that Rian Johnson actually gets that trilogy and actually produces that trilogy, I don't want this continuation of all of this drama with just having to like Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like that. That's my whatever thought.
I think it's still in that 5% bubble, though. Like. Mainstream doesn't know who Rian Johnson is.
Hardly anyone cares about the Rian Johnson.
Yeah, if you show a brand new Star Wars trailer with new characters, you're just starting over again. You're going to bring in the Star Wars fans.
Plus, if anything, I think it would help the fandom to see that it's been by the time his film comes out, which the first one's probably going to come out in 2026, it would have been. Damn near 10 years. I mean, it'll be 9 years, right, at that point, that he's made a Star Wars film. If there are people out there who are,
they're still going to be making Last Jedi hate videos.
If they're still saying stuff about Rian Johnson like that, I think the common person's going to look at them and go, bro, you need to get a life. It has been damn near a decade, and you're still complaining.
Do you see YouTube? Go outside your own channel.
Well, I don't though because
that's such a small fraction.
Yeah, I mean, I did that starting off when The Last Jedi came out, and it's how I was able to gain a lot of subscribers. But it's been 3 years. I'm over The Last Jedi. I don't care anymore. If I don't like it, then I won't watch it and I won't talk about it anymore. Yeah, but I'm still going to go support. Rian Johnson's not a bad director. That's one thing those fans don't get. He is not a bad director. He's a bad writer. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a really great writer. He's not. But he is not a bad director, and his cinematography in that film alone.
Oh yeah,
and I think get Star Wars. See, and I like Knives Out as a film. I think it's
too predictable.
It was fine.
I thought it was like I said, he thinks he's a really smart writer. When you look at Last Jedi and Knives Out, you're like, it's okay. But as a director, looking at
Well,
him.
now that you're here, movie man, thanks.
Oh, yeah. I will say, even though, yeah, right, he might be a good director, but he's a complete asshat on Twitter, and he likes to attack.
I agree with that. Yeah,
I wouldn't say
How
he's
do you attack the
For the people he's dealing with, so it's
I would say he plays it fair.
Well,
I think he gives it out and dishes it and takes it the same way. I don't think Ryan's as bad of a person people make him out to be. I'm pretty like I've said before, I would have a drink with Ryan Johnson and tell him I disagree with you on politically everything and your conception on Star Wars, but I want to hear why you think that way, because he is a good movie director and he is a filmmaker, and so there's some point of it where I do have to respect him.
He's a bad tweeter.
I like that.
He's a bad tweeter.
Well, I mean, Twitter's not meant for good people, in my opinion. So it's
No, I mean,
what are you saying? Star Wars only?
Honestly, I think Moore would be open to it. That's why I don't think it'll ever happen. If he just kept his mouth shut like Zack Snyder and just was positive, only engaged with the positive fans, be more likely. I just thought.
I think if he had taken a different approach, then there wouldn't be so much backlash.
There's so much there for them people like
where there's blood, there's
to dig up stuff. If they do a sequel trilogy, there's so much of a history of his tweets and everything. It's just like who wants to deal with that headache?
But they're not going to back down from it, Max. I swear that trilogy's happening. The announcement's coming in the next 3 to 4 years.
Kathleen Kennedy's going to be fired next year.
Well, she's not going to be fired.
Already fired.
She doesn't have any power. They've
She's a
taken away
marionette
all
doll
of
right
her
now.
power.
She's banned from the season 2 set of The Mandalorian, despite the fact she's an executive producer and the president of the company who approved of every single thing happening on set. Like,
wait, hold on a second. The president of the company really has that much power. I can't believe this panel. This is the second time that I've heard this garbage about some. You're going to tell me the president of the company can go whatever and do whatever and actually call the shots and actually hire the people? You're going to tell me they're hiring the people now that are actually working on this stuff? Oh my God.
Make sure you
next thing you're going to tell me is that she hired John Favreau.
going through the algorithm.
Dude, thank you. I like want to lose my mind every time I hear that. Like, John Favreau put her in her place and told her to get lost. Shit.
Did you see
on her way.
how socially distant they were in the Mandalorian documentary? They were sitting way apart.
Oh,
Wait,
wait.
She was right behind.
I'm joking.
She doesn't get to sit at the big boy table.
They're like,
The fact that
sit
she's
a little
bigger
bit
than all
further,
the big boys.
I'm joking.
That's the
Somehow at the head of the table.
Yeah. John Favreau had to pitch The Mandalorian to her. She's the one who, like, everyone hates on her, but I'm like, bro, the only reason The Mandalorian's happening is
Now
because of her.
Kylo's here. Now it's a party.
Kylo's in the house. It's Kylo versus Max.
I
don't understand what you guys are arguing about. You all have a lot of issues. Star Wars sequel trilogy is the greatest trilogy ever made.
Definitely the most profitable.
I got a bunch of issues
because it stars
I'd
me.
still prefer watching it over the prequel trilogy any day of the week. So.
Sorry
to bring down the room.
Fucking right.
Sorry to bring down the room.
Adam. Oh.
Thank you, Adam. I appreciate that very
You're
much.
welcome, Kylo. You're welcome.
Okay. This was a great stream. I lost control a few times. Hey, Adam, don't be a stranger. We love you, man. You are the most requested guest. Maybe we could come on your channel if it will stick to movies or something if you want. I don't know if you stream much.
I am on Twitch. I play games on Twitch now, but
okay.
Awesome. I would consider myself. I don't do live stuff like this ever.
All right. So yeah,
it's actually funny. You should see him lose that Super Mario Maker. I actually enjoy watching him get his butt kicked on that.
Yeah, I didn't say it was good. I just
you get twitching then too. Wow, cool.
Yeah,
that's
I just
great.
started Twitch a couple weeks, maybe a month ago.
He's worth a lot to me.
That's right. That's Boba Fett, right?
How do I know you're not making faces at me under there?
You don't.
He's definitely is. That's why I like to wear a mask.
You know what?
I guess.
You know what I thought was an apt comparison to the Luke Skywalker thing, just to really put a pin on the Last Jedi, is imagine if they made another Harry Potter movie in like another 15 years, and Harry's like got the lightning bolt scar down the whole side of the face, and he's got like long hair, and he's like, it's time for the fucking wizards to die, and he just hates wizardry and all that stuff. That's like the jolt of Luke Skywalker to me that I think is what bothered people.
And then they wait till to bring back Voldemort like six more movies deep.
Oh yeah,
Like,
he's a clone. He's a clone Voldemort. there was an 8th Horcrux.
Yeah.
Well, that's a long comment.
Hell, holy shit, we might have a picture here actually.
Oh wait, Robert Storms. I'm not getting Robert Storms on here. Maybe. All right, I shouldn't say that. I want to talk to as many people as possible. Maybe we'll get Adam and Robert Storms.
Max.
What's that?
Great stream tonight. I said I had a lot of fun tonight. Great stream, and it was great hanging out with Adam. Finally, you know. I would have preferred Terry.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Next time, dude, bring Terry.
I could transition really quickly.
You know, I'm just curious.
I have the only wardrobe thing I need right here.
I'm just curious, but has Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers ever acknowledged you at this point?
Terry!
What's up, SJW haters? It's Terry coming at you another
Come on, hey, has Jeremy ever?
Oh, sorry, Griffin.
Has Jeremy ever acknowledged you at this point?
I don't think he will because, well, one, it's on my second channel, so it's very, very small, and two, it doesn't like help him to acknowledge me because, like, I'm just basically parodying everything he says, making him sound like a joke, which is what he knows. He knows what he's doing, you know.
Yeah.
It's a traveling priest.
He unfollowed us. He unfollowed me and Max on Twitter.
It's the 50-year-old on Facebook selling essential oils. I mean, you're always going to have an audience. It's just the most gullible, stupid people on the planet.
Oh,
right. I like your parodies, man. I like your parodies.
Thank you.
I don't know if you've seen my Mike Zero parodies called Mark Uno, but I've got a whole slew of them. I got a whole slew of them, Mark Uno, and we even did a music video diss track on him. And I
don't even know who that is.
Hey, but maybe we're
Mike Zero.
I don't know who Mark Zero is.
Mike Zero.
Mike Zero.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Oh my god!
He used to be one of the
algorithm king.
Yeah.
He had no rhymes.
Basically Star Wars garbage news, just bringing up stupid Star Wars stuff all the time that like doesn't.
He might be worse than Doomcock.
Always much worse. Yeah.
I don't know. So the only reason I know who He Who Shall Not Be Named is from Geeks and Dipshits is YouTube was just feeding me these videos.
Yes,
I didn't ask for them, and which is odd because he's like a Trump guy, and they always talk about how YouTube is keeping those types of people down. Yet he's getting pushed all the time on my fucking feed. So I'm like, who is this? And I click on it, and it was I couldn't even make it like 30 seconds in. I'm just like, Jesus, this is real. And I look, he's got like 100+ 1,000 subscribers, and it's like, what is happening?
Well, that's exactly what happened to me with Mike Zero, man. He's got like 222,000 subscribers, and I have never subscribed to him. And my kids were always like, "Why does he keep showing up?" And I'm like, "I don't know. He's just because it's Star Wars. That's the only reason." Yep.
So
they clog the algorithm by dropping 3 to 5 fucking videos a day. Sorry, Max. And it's out of control.
He was dropping. Mike Zero was dropping 12 videos a day leading up to the Rise of Skywalker. Like we actually like make fun of it in our videos because like it just got so out of hand that it was just, and he never says anything. He says the same exact thing. He would literally regurgitate like 1 week he told a story about how like he always says it is said that in the movie that this is going to happen. He never gives a source or nothing like that. But he had this whole story about how the heroes were going to come upon this town where there was a 50-foot statue of Ezra Bridger, and they all like paid homage to Ezra Bridger like in this little town and stuff, and that he had gone on to become their hero. And then the very next week he told the exact same story, except for he switched out Ezra Bridger with Anakin Skywalker. 50-foot statue of Anakin Skywalker.
And people just eat it up.
And dude, that's the thing is like we literally flooded his Facebook. We flooded every video with our parodies and the diss track and everything. And it's so funny because there's people. I literally got a message from somebody that it was the weirdest defense of anybody I've ever seen in my life, because the guy's really awkward and he does these really weird like hand motions when he's talking. He's trying to like articulate with his hands, and he's got this like just creepiness to him. And he's like the kind of guy that you would think like doesn't have a girlfriend.
Sure.
but like somebody literally messaged me and said, I'm a friend of Mike's and Mike is a good guy. Mike has a girlfriend. And I was like, okay. So we put the girlfriend and
My
his
show
mom,
now.
and his mom in the parody videos where it's like my wife is like as his mom talking about making me some hot pockets and stuff because I'm down in the basement making my Star Wars stories. Yeah. But I dig your stuff, man, because I hate Jeremy.
Yeah, like I said, I know very little. I don't know much about him. I had a show called The Cringe, which I still do too, which was kind of like the extreme opposite side of things, where you have a lot of for a long time, and it still happens on Twitter, not so much lately because movies aren't being released in theaters, but you would have all these just the fakest shit you would see for reviews, like this movie's a 10 out of 10. You won't believe what they've done. It's the greatest film I've ever seen. And it was just the phoniest reviewers on YouTube. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna make a character like that. And you could just tell, and I think this is where guys like, Jeremy and these channels came from is, okay, we went really extreme on the shilling. Now we're going to pull it back the other direction, and we're going to go really extreme on the speculation and the intrigue and the behind the scenes bullshit. And so these guys just strive, and this will last for another couple years, and then we'll move on to the next thing. Right. But when I saw the video, I'm like, okay, I got to do a character off of him. And I won't even, people in the comments will be like, you got like, you're like obsessed with Jeremy. And I'm like, I think I've done 6 videos. I have like 100 episodes of The Cringe. And it's because they're so repetitive that, that they think that I've done like a bunch of videos because I repeat the same 5 or 6 things over and over. Leftist agenda, Kathleen Kennedy. And it just sounds like I've done a ton of shit, but it's like, I don't even watch videos. I look at his thumbnail and I know exactly what he's going to talk about. So I don't even have to watch his crap.
Yep. I made up a whole thing because Mike Zero talks about Chris Terrio and all this stuff, and like every video was Chris Terrio this, Chris Terrio that, and he has this like whole spiel that he would always go down, and so I started adding to that spiel because he would always like start adding like people who worked on the movies. So and he like lists everybody. So it's like Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker is coming out in just a little over a month, written and directed by J.J. Abrams, Chris Terrio, George Lucas himself, the creator, Kathleen Kennedy, Lucasfilm, Disney, and of course Mark Ruffalo, and and it was just like stupid stuff that we would just like add to there, or like or like and Danny DeVito with secret director Tim Burton. We did like this whole thing, and it was just like this crazy angles that were like just like what you're saying right there. It's like because he has all these keywords, and I actually developed this thing that Mike had this huge crush on Chris Terrio, and once the Rise of Skywalker came out, it was like, what am I gonna do now? What videos? How am I gonna go on if I can't say Chris Terrio one more time?
I did a video one time on The Cringe where that was the entire concept of the video. It was on the Amazing Spider, or it was on one of the Spider-Man movies, but I basically just said keywords for 4 minutes straight. I was like, Venom in Spider-Man. Spider-Man is Venom. Mary Jane is this. Did Spider-Man die in blah, blah. And that's all I did. And
that's awesome.
It was pretty humorous. But
that's awesome. I love that.
It didn't work. It didn't work, though. That was the bummer. I didn't get the couple million views from it I was hoping for.
There's always something.
The million plus view video has eluded us all, Adam. But maybe someday.
Oh no, I have a couple that have done that. But
I've got one.
Frozen versus Tangled, I think, is at around 3 million views.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
That's I have like 3, I think, that are over 1 million. But when I did the first one, I'm like, oh my god, this could actually be a career. Right. And then like 17 videos later, it's like, this can't be a career.
Right.
I know, man. The video I hit 1 million on, I was like, what in the world is going on? This is insane. I was getting bombarded with like notifications and stuff, and I'm like, this is real. And then it was like I put out the next video thinking, oh, I can repeat that.
Right.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, well, it's the algorithm, and it's to me, I look at it like a slot machine. Every video is like another quarter. You put it in there, put it in there. Eventually, you pull the handle, and bing, and you get one, right? But then you're hooked. Now you're making video. Just want that payoff.
Yes.
I'd say a couple of years there was a lot more, skill involved in kind of getting your video seen. You could definitely not game the system, but you could definitely come up with content and topics that were able to kind of push you towards the top. But now it really does seem, because there's just billions of videos and millions of hours uploaded daily, that it's just impossible. Like it really is just a crapshoot what's going to get pushed.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
Well, I've subscribed
gotta-
to both of you guys. I've subscribed to both of you guys, and
send me. Are you on Twitter?
I am. Yeah, I am on Twitter.
Shoot me. Adam does movies on Twitter. Just shoot me a follow. I'll hit you up.
Absolutely, man.
All right.
Yeah, you guys ever?
Thanks
well,
for
everybody.
You guys ever need a puppet? Assistance? Just let me know. I'm always down to help out.
I love that. I love that you're doing what you do, man. That's great.
I love how blinged
Yeah,
out
just
you
try to
are.
do something different.
Yes.
Well, that too, and the fact that this guy behind me is so ugly, so he just keeps his hand up my ass, and I take care of the show.
Are you an Arrested Development fan?
Yeah, I've seen it. I'm not like a huge fan, but it's funny.
You reminded me of the puppet on Arrested Development season 3. Yeah, it's pretty hilarious.
I have to look it up. I don't remember. Yeah.
Cool.
No, I'm a cousin of
Franklin.
Grover. Grover's a good guy. He's been getting a bad rep since he dropped that F-bomb on Sesame Street. You can look it up. It's on YouTube.
I've seen that.
guy.
I've seen that. Yeah, that's some serious stuff, man. He must be going through some stuff, man. Some rough stuff at home.
Well, he just cracked, man. 50 years working that slave trade over there on the streets.
Well, it's all that. It was all that near and far and just going back and forth. Nobody understands.
Right.
Exactly. I get it, man.
Puppet lives matter, folks.
All right, guys. We'll see you later. Have a good night.
All right.
Bye.
I can't end the show.
I know.
I think we all just leave.
We just all leave.
I guess we just leave. All right.
This was the BVS. This was the BVS. Star Wars.
Since Max isn't here, do we all sign off as our individual channels? Like the day we took over, Matt, we closed out Max.
Right. Yeah, go subscribe to us because we obviously stick around. Yeah.
This guy Max is a coward.
Coward.
We'll see you guys.
Bye
Bye.
All right, guys. Have a good one. And thanks for tuning in to Mad Max's channel. And that was a great stream. Got to talk about Star Wars. Got to hang out with my good buddy Adam. And all right. Well, I guess I'll just leave now. Hopefully Max can find out a way to actually shut the stream down completely. If not, it's probably gonna be a black screen for a while. But keep on talking in the chat and go over to my channel and check out some Snow Dub music and check out last night's Tuck and Roll show. That was really funny. Max and a few of the guests that were on tonight were on there, including Matt Jarbo. Plus we had some people from the other side, Phantom Menace, on there. So there were some clashes and it was funny. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, check out my Tuck and Roll show. Just uploaded it from last night. And if you want to join that show, I always leave an open link. So it'll be on next Saturday, next Saturday night. Follow me on Twitter at SNO_dub. And I'll leave an open link next Saturday night. If you want to join us on the Tuck and Roll show, you're more than welcome to. All right, guys. Much love, everybody. And thanks for doing the wrenching tonight, Phobic Xeno, keeping the trolls at bay. And we'll talk to you later.